Hi, welcome back to another episode of Algebra in Words, the video series. In the last video, I gave an overview of quadratic functions. And in this video, we're going to continue in our conversation about quadratic functions and graphs, which are parabolas. And in this video, what I have is a quadratic function. And what we're going to do in this video is, using the original function or equation, I'm going to teach you how to break it down, and we're going to find everything needed, and then we're going to graph. We're going to find the vertex, and I'm going to explain to you how to use this formula to find the vertex. It's a two-step problem. And then using that and other information, we're basically going to graph, and I'll walk you through all those steps. But for now, let's start with finding the vertex. Now, to find the vertex, you need a few things. First, the function or the equation must be in standard form, like this. And I've been reiterating that because it is important. If it comes in a different form, rearrange it into standard form, so that you have ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. From that, whatever those numbers are, you're going to then plug that into what's known as the vertex formula in two steps. Okay, now first let me just explain what the vertex formula is, because at first it is a little foreign looking, and I don't want you to be intimidated by it because it looks a little different. So first of all, this portion represents the x or the h of the vertex, and this portion represents the y. So let me just write that. In technical terms, we would call this h and this k, because that's how we define a vertex. But really, this is x, and this is y. All right. Now, like I said, this is going to must be done in two steps. Let's focus on this part first. All you do is start with your original equation and plug in. In this case, b is 6. That would go in here. Make sure you keep the negative sign. That's divided by 2. There's always a 2. And plug in for a. In this case, a, coincidentally, is also 2. So let's plug that in to start. And I'm just switching marker colors. So let's plug in. Negative, and b is 6. Always 2. And then in for this a is this 2. And just simplify as much as possible. Negative 6 over 4. You can divide out a common factor of 2 from the top and bottom to get negative 3/2. Now I'm going to put that into the vertex form like this. Okay, now we're on to the second portion of the formula. Notice that it says f of negative b over 2a. And all that really translates into is, find what this is, which we did here, which happens to be negative 3/2, and plug that in for x in this equation. So if we do that here, just going to move that over, this would be like if we said f of negative 3/2. And all that is just putting the value of x we're substituting in for x into f of x. And now just plug in. So we have 2 times negative 3/2. Remember, that's squared. Plus 6 times, again, negative 3/2. Minus 3. And we're just going to simplify this down as much as possible. So let's start by bringing down the 2. And now let's square negative 3/2, which then becomes positive 9/4. Bring down we could bring down the 6, but actually we can simplify that. And if we did 6 times negative 3/2, the 2 goes into 2 once and into 6 3 times. So 3 times negative 3 becomes negative 9. And bring down this negative 3. And now let's continue. And in this case, we have 2 times 9/4. So let's multiply that and simplify that. 2 goes into 2 goes into 4 twice and into 2 once. So 2 times 9/4 becomes 9/2. And let's bring that down. We have 9/2. And now since negative 9 and negative 12, negative 9 and negative 3 makes negative 12, let's convert that into halves so that we can combine that with the 9/2. So hopefully you understand that if we multiply the top and bottom of negative 12 by 2, we get negative 24/2. And when we subtract that, we should get negative 14/2. Negative 15/2. And this would represent our k value or our y value. If you wanted to convert them into decimals, that would be okay, but for now, let's leave them as fractions. And, okay, so to summarize, we just found the vertex using this formula by taking the values of a and b and substituting them into here first to find x or h. We write that here. Then we took what we found for x, substituted it in for x into the original function, simplified, and that gave us y. And that's why I put that here. And now we have the vertex. So just to save space, I'm going to rewrite this here and then erase this so we have more room to do more work and ultimately graph. So I moved the vertex right here, and now we have room to work, and I set up a graph. So first, let's graph the vertex. So where we have negative 3/2, that's about negative 1.5. So starting here, let's go to the right. If this is 1 and 2, that would be right around here. And then we're going to go down, and negative 15/2 is like negative 7.5. So let's go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and a half would be right about there. So when we join these up, the vertex would be right about there. All right, so that's plotted. And now let's look at the y-intercept. That would be right here. It would be negative 3. And we can plot that here, down 1, 2, 3. So that's found and plotted. And let's now do the next thing, which is, so the question is this going to open upward or downward? And I think it's already clear by the y-intercept being here that it's going to open upward. But let's just be sure by going through the proper methods. We have to look at and properly analyze A. And this is positive 2. And positive A means it opens upward. So let's draw a basic sketch of the parabola opening upward. And let's make sure that it passes through the y-intercept. Okay, this is just a basic sketch. It's not exact, but a basic sketch. It gets the idea across. All right, and so the next question is this vertex, is this the maximum or the minimum? It would be the minimum because in this case the parabola opens upward. What specifically is the minimum in this case? All we do is write the y value of the vertex. That would be this. So the minimum is negative 15/2. All right, and how about the axis of symmetry? All we do to find the axis of symmetry is write the x value of the vertex, but write it as x equals that number. X equals, and that's the x value of the vertex, -3/2. If we were to graph the axis of symmetry, it would just look like this. That's all, and we could label it as x equals -3/2. So that's pretty much it. One thing we did not do in this video is find the x-intercepts, and that's something that we can do in a later video. But basically, this gets across the point of how to analyze all of these things, including the vertex, and starting with the vertex, to graph it into a reasonable, logical, conceptual sketch. So I'm going to end this video here, and then we'll pick up on some other concepts and applications in the next video. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.